And greetings. Welcome to our Tuesday edition of Chicago Corner. I am your hostess with the mostest, Kira Macoun. And today we have, of course, a jam-packed show for you. We'll see how much we can get through it. Last week was a little bit of tumult, but this week I have a feeling we'll get through the majority of our stories. Fingers crossed, because I've done a lot of work for y'all in researching them I should say. And with me to go through and sift through all of these stories, as always, is Jerry Vasilatos. Welcome to the stream. How are you this evening?
Reporting for duty. It's a busy city with a lot of stories to cover.
It really, really is. It's so hard to curate what it is I want to talk about every single time. And then last week when we were running so short on time to curate in a moment's notice what I'd already curated was like, So I actually brought in a few of those stories for this week because they weren't as time sensitive. So
Cool.
I'm excited for what we have in store for everybody today. That's right. And then also with us, as always, is Mr. Pizza himself, Ed Heller. What's
Good
going
evening,
on, dude?
everyone, on this wonderful
hello.
Taco Tuesday, which is also the Illinois primary day, where polls closed about 38 minutes ago.
That's right.
Joining us, as always, is the disembodied voice of Real Deep Dish Pizza.
Yeah, polls closed. 38 minutes ago, and somehow we were looking at that there are already numbers being reported.
Ooh, interesting.
Yes,
almost as if they have them in the can.
Yeah, I made note of that because for some reason we are getting numbers from NPR's update site where neither Cook County nor Chicago Board of Elections have added anything to their updates yet. Oh, wait, Board of Elections just updated their data.
Oh, did they really?
Okay,
I have us over on the WBEZ site now.
We got for U.S. Senator, there are 737 precincts reported according to the Chicago Board of Elections. I don't know how many precincts that NPR is telling us got reported.
Will you share what you're looking at, Ed, so that
certainly let me grab that and
see and partake.
Try not to hit the wrong buttons over here.
The live chat's kind of empty. Who's out there? I see we've got some
crickets over here.
Hey man, let's do a check-in. Let's do a roll call on the live chat if you're watching.
Roll call. Okay, so this is the Board of Elections.
Here we are. This is Chicago. This is from the ChicagoElections.gov, and they have 737 precincts reported. Let's see if I can make that a little bigger for you to read. Go. Okay, so looks like Tammy Duckworth is beating the nobody she's running against.
Yeah.
And actually J.B. Pritzker had a primary challenger. Was anyone aware?
Nope. They must not have had millions and millions and millions of dollars to spend to make their presence known.
Of course.
So,
hello, Nancy and Jim in the live chat. See some of our viewers checking in.
I saw Beverly Miles listed there, and I was like, who's Beverly Miles? So I went and looked it up. She is a U.S. Army veteran, I believe, nurse. At the very least, she definitely has a medical background. And she's from where I had a bio. I should have brought that up. I guess it doesn't matter. She's only got 8% of the vote here, but
no one's going to remember her tomorrow after all the results are in. So
yeah.
I mean,
not looking good for Beverly Miles.
Sadly, no.
Sorry, Beverly. Try again.
Go raise some more money
later.
I mean, technically this is her trying again, because I think she ran for alderman in one of the wards. She did not win then either. Okay, Attorney General.
Governor. Yeah.
Well, Kwame has got 100% of the vote.
100%.
There was no
That's
challenger, though.
impressive.
That's why, right?
Yeah,
No, yeah,
he's
I know.
running against nobody.
Oh, man, this was a tough. This Secretary of State, aside from Sidney Moore, only by virtue of the fact that he wasn't either of the other three candidates, he was my choice because Janulius is just like damaged goods. David Moore, Mr. Jean-Baptiste Dusab, whatever, Lakeshore Drive, who couldn't deal with the food desert problem in his ward or give that priority, was running to, to advance forward from city council. And then you got Valencia, who had severe conflict of interest while she's serving the city with her husband working as a lobbyist. All three are like fucking damaged goods. Then you got this guy, Sidney Moore, who I read about. I'm like, yeah, I'll take him because I know how corrupt the other three are. But sadly, we see where Mr. Moore fell in that lineup. So
there it is.
And I can't remember why I didn't like Alexei Janulius, but I think he had some skeletons in his closet
there was something
too.
I was trying to recall myself, but I had been told explicitly no.
No, there were scandals related to the bank business that he was involved in. I know it was his father's bank, but I do believe that he was involved peripherally in the running of that business. I also know that he leans a lot on the fact that he's a basketball player and he was buddies with Barack Obama. I mean, that's not strong enough to run on, guys. But
it depends. It depends.
He's got name recognition. He's run for other positions in the past, so
and lost.
But he was memorable clearly because it looks like he's going to pull off this Secretary of State primary here.
I have a bad feeling about it, but let's see let's give him a chance and let's see what happens. I hope he proves me wrong, but sadly, I don't have a lot of faith in these people that make politics their career and have the stink of corruption on them that, along with all the other candidates that they run against, you're then doing this when you have to go to the polls and vote.
Okay, so Susana Mendoza was primaried versus nobody.
Erky Mendoza!
And State of Illinois Treasurer Michael Frericks, no challengers. Oh, here we go. First District had a lot of people on the list here. I think
it was 17 or something like that. It was a lot of candidates.
I see activist Jamal Colin there's not doing so well. Jonathan Jackson, he's related to Jesse Jackson, isn't he?
Probably.
Yeah, I think he is.
I was going to say, really? I had no idea. Okay.
He's in the lead right now with 102 precincts reporting. So that's, 24%. Okay. Karen Norrington Reeves only has 12.25%. Jackie Collins, same amount. Pat Dowell's got the 21.7%. So if anybody's going to pull it out of nowhere, it's probably going to be Dowell, but it's looking more like Jonathan Jackson's got this one. Okay.
Yeah, he's pretty far ahead.
Robin Kelly.
Another uncontested primary.
Here's 3rd District.
Yeah, we knew that was going to happen, I think.
It looks like Delia Ramirez is very popular here in the 3rd District.
Mm-hmm.
I drove by my former alderman Dick Mell's place on my way home, which is just because he lives like half a block over, and he had a Gil Villegas sign in his lawn. So maybe more people are noticing maybe we don't want to vote for Gil Villegas.
He's related to Tito Jackson.
Tito, bring me some tissue.
Tito! Chewy ran unopposed. There's a shock.
Shocker.
4th District.
Wait, Chewy ran unopposed?
Shock. And on to the 5th District. Like Quigley.
Boring.
Quigley unopposed.
All these unopposed candidates.
Okay,
Uh,
a
what- you-
6th district.
Have we got any sense of what the voter turnout was?
Very light. I actually have a story on that, and as we're going through this, I can
Let's see. Let's
talk
see
a little bit
if it
about
has the
that.
total here.
35%. Oh no, that's of precincts reported. Okay.
That's a precincts reported. So basically, here let me run
Cards
through that real quick
cast.
just to answer
Yeah,
that question.
Kira, share that with us. That's an interesting point.
So really, like, we don't have all of the numbers because this is reported as of noon on election day. The total number of ballots counted in Chicago was counted like that were today voting, right? Not total with early mail-in and early voting, right? Was 178,215, which was representing only almost 12% of eligible voters citywide, and that was by noon today. Turnout increased steadily throughout the morning, with most people voting an hour and before noon. And a total of 55,253 ballots were cast on election day in the city as of noon, with the highest number of votes cast among people 65 to 74. And this is apparently lagging quite a bit behind what we were experiencing in the 2018 midterms. In fact, let's see here. Statewide, we're about 20,000 votes less at that point for election day. And that includes the mail-in ballots for that 2018 number. So it's a light turnout today, but we were expecting it to be a light turnout. There was also we don't usually have our primary at this time of year. It's usually in March.
I have a bad feeling I know who constitutional conservative is, but I'll hedge my suspicions for.
Yeah, asking where are the Republican results. We just started looking at the results. I imagine they're further down in this. We'll get there.
We'll get
to those. Okay, so 6th district. Sean Casten is leading Marie Newman. Wait, isn't Marie Newman the incumbent there?
They both are. Their districts got collapsed. Yep. It happened to these two, and it happened to two Republicans as well.
Oh, so they're battling it out for the 6th.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
All right. So, and it looks like Marie Newman is not going to win this.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot of votes in yet.
Right, exactly. We'll That's going to be one to watch, though.
Okay. 7th district. We got Danny K. Davis and Kina Collins.
That's another one to watch. Kicking out a long-time incumbent, I think, is the hopeful Kina Collins. She had a huge ground game, lots of endorsements, including an endorsement from, was it the Tribune? So, I mean, huge endorsements for Kina. So that's why I reacted that way when I saw that. But again, it's only 38% of precincts reporting here. So
yeah, so it's still early. 8th district.
And we'll check in at least one or two more times.
Junaid versus Raja, really? Okay.
Oh, I'll reserve my commentary on that one.
Okay, I'm honestly I don't know who I would pick in those two, except that Junaid showed up to the March for Medicare for All, and Raja gave us lip service.
Well, we all saw Junaid show up, and he wasn't there to campaign, even though everybody in the parade was carrying his campaign signs.
Yeah, it's where, I mean, he showed up, he spoke. Will he support it? Is he going to push for it?
It's another example, Ed, of forgive me for being too cynical. I just have a bad feeling a lot of these people aren't going to follow through, but I really, really hope that they prove me wrong. I don't want to be Mr. Negative all the time, but, I go by just the way that some of these people campaigned. I'm like, it reminds me a lot of how people campaign, and they think you forget what they promise when they get in later and don't do anything. So, my spidey sense was tingling on some of these, and like I said, I hope I'm wrong.
So nobody.
I always hope I'm
challenged.
wrong, and I rarely am.
That's because you've got that strong spidey sense, Kira.
It's called
Nobody
gut
challenged
instinct.
Dan Schakowsky in the ninth.
It's called cynicism.
Okay.
That's Spidey sense.
Then we get committee people. Do we want to?
Now, Kendra,
through these.
Kendra, who was one of the organizers for the March for Medicare for All, and we met Kendra. It's nice to see you join us. Kendra shares they had Junaid put his signature on his sign saying that Junaid would fight for Medicare for all. Kendra, good move. Let's keep on to that sign in case you have to bring it out and show receipts.
That's right.
We can fly through the committee, man, unless there's anyone you want to look at. I see Bobby Rush is listed in there for Dem State, so he's still going to be involved in politics, it looks like. Okay, Robin Kelly.
Okay, Uncle Warren. Could have been.
All right, we gotta fly through these and see if we can see
boring.
Okay, state senator. Do we care about state senators right now? We could come back to that. We were gonna look at the
about state senators. Not really right now.
We're gonna look at the we were the Republican primary.
I want to see the governor primary for the Republicans right now. That's what I'm most curious about.
Let's see where they're hiding it here for us here.
I know. I want to see it. I bet Irvin's winning.
Oh, here we go. Here's the Republican stuff. Let me scroll up here.
Let's see if I'm wrong.
Yep. Here we go. Okay, governor and lieutenant governor Republicans. Okay.
Oh no, Irvin's.
We got Darren Bailey currently in the lead there.
This is such a crock of shit.
And Richard Irvin behind with the 24%. Gary Rabine, who is a snooze fest at 6.6%. And
who was the one that Ken Griffin was supporting?
I think Ken Griffin supported
Irvin
about
was 50%. The one. Ken Griffin
was it
Irvin? And Irvin is at 24%.
Yeah, I think Ken Griffin.
Yes!
Tanya! I think Irvin put in.
We'd get a use out of that one.
That's hilarious. And I think Griffin put in like a total, I think it was something crazy like $100 million. I know for sure it was $50 million. I reported on that last week, but then I think that he might have re-upped some more money since then.
I don't mean to be selfish, but Jerry, can we play that again?
Yes!
Tanya!
Oh, that felt
one of my favorite Chicago filmed movies, Running Scared. Rest in peace, Gregory Hines. Luckily, Billy Crystal's still with us.
We just got to be careful. We just got to be crazy. What am I talking about? We just got to be careful. Well, I know where this Freudian slip came from, but because that Bailey guy is the one that the Pied Piper strategy is being created for.
The one who took money from the Governors Association.
Yeah, why don't you refresh our viewers' memory on that, Kira? Because you talked about that. I think you talked about. We talked about it, or I think we talked about it last Friday.
We did. We talked about it. You guys did talk about it on Friday, and we talked about it on Tuesday, too, because I noticed ads being taken out supporting Bailey, and it was their ads were being placed by J.B. Pritzker. And I was looking at that, and as I looked into the whole story of that, basically what they're doing is they're putting Bailey up as the candidate to win. The Democratic Party is, because they believe that he's very beatable in the general election in Illinois.
Yeah, this isn't the first time they've done this in Illinois either.
Right, and the most obvious version of this was when the Clintons had Trump run, and then basically did that strategy, and Trump won, and then Trump won again, as we know. So
it's not a smart strategy to try. Is what it proved Trump.
One.
It's very dangerous. Yeah.
it's real dangerous when there's a possibility people are going to find out about it too.
Yeah.
I think
And
I
Bailey
think
is
what
being
happens,
endorsed by Trump. He's a Trump
Blows up in
candidate,
their
just so
face. Yeah.
everybody knows.
yeah, it's on the state level. Some people aren't paying enough attention sometimes, so that like it, obviously in Illinois, people aren't paying as close attention to that Pied Piper stuff. Although more people have been awoken because of what happened nationwide, but clearly Darren Bailey looks like he's going to pull this one off, which means Pritzker's probably going to get reelected.
That would be my guess. That would be, in that case, for certain, my hope.
The constitutional conservative says Bailey is Trump 2.0. I guess if you're into that kind of thing, constitutional conservative, I think you might want to revise your brain into Christian constitutional conservative so you can go by triple C, kind of like the KKK, but that's just my...
Jerry, are you sure
Let's
you
not
know
make
constitutional
assumptions.
conservative is?
I have a feeling I know who it is, and I'll
All right, so Attorney General for Republicans, Steve Kim, looks like he's leading the lead here. Actually, Thomas DeVore is not that far behind. So
Kendra also shares. They posted the Junaid receipt sign in Chicago Corner channel on the HLM Discord. That's cool. Oh, by the way, Kendra, while we're talking about social media, I did create a Chicago Corner subreddit. So if you look for Chicago Corner, no underscore, visitors, viewers to the show can also post in our Reddit, try to keep issues and stories percolating and give more feedback there when we're not streaming live.
That'd be great. And then Jim is asking an interesting question. I don't know how quickly you can get the answer to this, Ed, based on what you're looking at, but how many Dems votes versus GOP votes? Can we see that?
Total votes. 10,000. Well, it depends on which precinct. So let's scroll up to the governor one and see what the total number was there.
Good
We got
thinking.
11,887 for Republican in the Republican primary votes.
For the
That's
gubernatorial.
assuming everybody in who grabbed the ballot actually voted for governor. It's possible some people may have left it blank. So
for Democrats, I could understand people doing that. Holy buckets, really? That big of a difference?
79,493. Now, like I said, doesn't necessarily mean that's the total number, because we know some people left a blank. Or wait, let me double check that.
While you're double checking that,
Ed,
79,000,
79,500 for Dems and 11,000 for Republicans. That's bonkers.
If they're just totaling up the J.B. Pritzker versus the Beverly Miles to get that 79,493, it's possible somebody left their ballots blank.
I have some video of constitutional conservative on their way to the polling place. Would you like to see it?
I don't know. Are you sure?
Here it comes. There he goes, constitutional conservative.
Catch up!
On his way to the polls. I'll share with you guys later. I'm pretty sure I know who it is. So, and it's fine. There's no danger from this kind of troll. He's easily...
Okay, let's not go.
He's not a troll. He's not a troll.
All of our viewers, Mr. Vasilatos. We appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in on Tuesdays and Fridays on the Chicago Corner channel.
He's wanted to be a part of the show for quite some time, and I just know from the profile name. I've got a pretty good sense of who it is. And welcome, constitutional conservative. I'm glad you can finally be a part of the show. Whoops.
Oh yeah, we probably should back up for water reclamation district just to see if some people won. Let's see if I can figure out how to back up the truck on this.
Beep beep beep.
I did it. Okay.
No, this is great right here.
So here we are. Water Reclamation District. Here's the Dems for Water Reclamation District. And then there's more. Let's see, where's the rest of them? Republicans. You know what they don't have in here?
What's
They
that?
don't have third party in here. They don't have the third party results in this list.
I guess the question is, were there a lot of
I
third
didn't
candidates
see that there were third
that
parties.
got on the ballots?
Well, we had Green Party people running for water reclamation. I know that for sure.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And are you not seeing? Are you seeing?
In
water
fact,
reclamation on there right now?
I interviewed one of the candidates, and I believe their episode on the CAN TV show aired today, and we will put, well, not that it matters now, but we will put that interview up on the YouTube channel as he went, Mark, gosh, I'm forgetting his last name, but he really went into some good detail on why that position is a very important one for people to understand what it is when they're voting for it, as far as being on the board and knowing how to manage stuff within the water reclamation district. So
For certain. Yeah, and we'll come back and we'll revisit this throughout the evening. But I did want to make sure that everybody was up to speed with where we were with elections so far. So we'll touch base. Ed, if you wouldn't mind keeping that page on the ready over on your end, that would be super helpful for me. Cool.
Yep, can do. Actually, and while I'm doing that, I'm going to be looking to see if I can find results for third-party.
Yeah, that would be great because, we got another question in regard to them from Hoptocopter. No Green India Libertarian members. Go figure. Right on. Okay, yeah, we'll check those out for everybody as well. And until then, let's get to talking about some other stories that have happened over the last few days. I wanted to highlight a really fairly short story, but a really great one that Ed sent over maybe yesterday, a couple days ago, mostly because, free meal programs saved me and my sister when we were kids. So I just want, more people to be aware of what's available to them in programs like this for children in the city. Meals are going to be provided at no cost to students enrolled in CPS summer school programs through the Summer Food Service Program, which is administered by the Illinois State Board of Education and funded by the U.S. Department of Agriculture. However, families will still be able to receive assistance even if their children don't attend CPS schools. Their district's Lunch Stop program, which provides no-cost healthy meals at more than 70 locations citywide, is open to children 1 to 18 years old. Lunch Stop takes place from 10 a.m. through noon on Monday through Friday, beginning this last Monday, so yesterday. And the last day for the program is August 12th. So there is an online tool that you can go to, and I'm going to put it up in the chat here. If you want to find all the locations where you can find these free meals.
Kira, as I just brought up this page, it looks like there's a video cycling. Do you want me to run it, or did you cover most of the information?
Let's run it. Let's see what they.
All right, let me see if I can get it. Let's see if
it plays.
Yeah, let me get the volume up, and might provide some extra information.
This week, free lunch is available to students around the city and the suburbs until the end of the summer break. Starting tomorrow, the Greater Chicago Food Deposits will be dropping off meals at the following locations on the west side. Berwyn is the first stop at 11, followed by the Jeff Park District just after noon. Then at 1, meals at Cicero
Public Library.
At 2:30, pickups can be made at the Maywood Library. And then at the south side, meals will be at the Faith United Methodist Church in Dalton starting at 10:45. Around noon, students can pick up meals at Girdle Park. At 1, meals will be offered at Smith Park, followed by Lansing Public Library at 2.
And there you go.
Very cool.
Or as our comrade Kit would say, there you have it.
And there you have it. Yeah, so I wanted to amplify that story because I think it's important to know what resources are available to everybody. So if you or somebody have children, and honestly, like, it was awesome having the free meals when I was little, but it was also really great to have somewhere to go. Because that, my sister and I were largely home alone together, after school and definitely throughout the summer while my mom worked. And so having some place to go every single day, we took a walk, we'd go there, we eat the lunch, we'd see all these familiar faces of the people who went to the same place to have that free lunch. And, and then we would do the trek back home, and it kept us busy. And it was a lot of fun, and it was something we were always looking forward to. So thanks, Ed, for sharing that story, so that I get to highlight it for everybody. Do you guys want to add anything about the free meal service?
Yeah, I just wanted the reason why I've been trying to stay on top of stuff like this is because we were supposed to get an extended federal program for school lunches, and I don't know if that's still up in the air. I don't think they've renewed it yet.
Okay.
Luckily, we're in summer, and so we were fortunate enough to get Chicago Public Schools to do a summer meal program here. But the truth is that we shouldn't have to be scrounging as states to get things that every state should be getting assistance with right now. I don't know why our representatives in DC can't understand that it's not as great and rosy for a lot of people as they keep telling everybody it is. Just because their Wall Street portfolios are doing extremely well doesn't mean the rest of the nation isn't still struggling to make ends meet. And I think it's really important and it's really great when at least the states and local governments recognize that people need help and then look for solutions like this summer meal program.
Right.
Well said.
Right on.
When it comes to summer mealtime for me,
Got any fried chicken?
Best damn chicken in the state.
Bring me 4 fried chickens and a Coke.
You want chicken wings or chicken legs?
4 fried chickens and a Coke.
And some dry white toast, please.
Yeah, and it says that this particular program, so you might check out the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Is that the department that was supposed to fund it? Because it says that it's being funded by the Illinois State Board of Education and the U.S. Department of Agriculture.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like all the food programs have completely disappeared. It's just that the ones we were supposed to get supplementally, especially through those last gigantic giveaway bills where they gave all the money to the 1% and then they gave crumbs to the rest of us, they let all the crumbs expire.
Yeah.
Hoptocopter has a request regarding federal aid.
Yeah, there we
elsewhere,
go. We
right?
should just start
Send some
sourcing
lifeguards.
lifeguards from out of state.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's another story we've got in the hopper, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but I know that comment's going to disappear, as more people post in the chat.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the headway on the lifeguard situation is coming along very good, very well at all. I think they're saying that pools aren't opening until July 5th now. So we're sweltering in one of the hottest summers ever. And
they're basically reassigning lifeguards so that they can open up public pools. So they're stretching themselves super thin.
I see. Okay. Okay, so let's move into a little bit heavier topics here. And these are the next several stories are kind of interconnected. And there's some humorous pieces. There's some not, funny pieces, not funny pieces. So let's kind of dive in because I have a feeling we're going to kind of go all over the place with these next few stories. So the city's economic development agency is using the U.S. Supreme Court's ruling on abortion rights as a marketing tool. World Business
Everybody's capitalizing on this in some way for campaign fundraising. Howard Stern today was talking about this with Kit. He's going to run for president now that this happened to get some 15 minutes of fame and then never talk about running for president again. And now we're figuring out how to monetize it here.
You know, we kind of predicted this already.
Yeah, I know.
We did. We were all over this.
We were talking about how basically they were going to take the Triple Bean Casino and set off another section of it for reproductive abortion tourism.
Yeah. It's in that big building without the windows.
So World Business Chicago, alluding to Illinois' law that guarantees abortion as healthcare right, sent letters Monday to heads of Fortune 500 companies in states where reproductive rights have been lost or maybe curtailed. The letters are inviting 300 CEOs to move to Chicago for the sake of employees affected by laws banning or criminalizing abortion.
So wait, bring your businesses here to Chicago so we can tax you in case you have employees that may need an abortion. Is that how I'm understanding this?
Yeah, well, basically, like, if
Jesus.
your concern is the rights of your employees, you should probably relocate to Illinois, where we have our freedom to have an abortion.
Right. But make sure to be forewarned. If you go 5 miles over the speed limit, we're going to take $35 from you every time. We're going to tax you up the ass if you decide to buy property and live here. What?
No doubt. Michael Fasnacht, CEO of the World Business Chicago, says he's had ongoing conversations with CEOs about how they cannot build a great corporate culture if local laws don't respect all their employees. But he would not say directly if he'd spoken with the heads of Boeing, Caterpillar, or Citadel, companies that in recent weeks have said they are taking their headquarters out of Chicago. Fasnacht said, "I wouldn't be surprised if employees have raised their concerns about the move. Caterpillar and Citadel could not be immediately reached for comment. A Boeing executive emphasized that the limited nature of its headquarters move, which he said involves the CEO and chief financial officer and not its roughly 400 employees in Chicago."
Kira, can I interject here? This is not about protecting women and abortion rights. It's right there in the article. It's about cultivating corporate culture.
This is such a crock of shit.
It's also about saving a whole ton of money on paid maternity leave.
Very good. Yeah.
Saving money on paid maternity leave.
Yeah.
If you have your business in a place where people can get abortions, you're going to have less pregnancies in your business.
That's right. Well, that's what I was going to bring up.
Busier workforce that you can't give time off to.
Yeah, so that's also what I was going to bring up, and you just put it in a different light. But absolutely, yeah. So this
Ilhan shares, American democracy is just an illusion of choice. The great American dream died in its cradle, or the great American dream was aborted, too. You could also, if we're going to follow the theme here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so, when people have more control over their family planning, there are less pregnancies. And that is definitely good for corporate culture because those corporations don't have to, give maternity leave, maybe train new people, consider bringing somebody in for a period of time while somebody is gone. There's a lot that goes into somebody having a child, very obviously.
Did you see Hop to Copper's comment? But they'll subsidize clinic construction, and like Google, the employees and taxpayers will foot the bill. Ilhan also shares, billionaires decide how we live, die, and how we think. We are just numbers on a spreadsheet.
Truth. I agree. So I couldn't find the letter in full, unfortunately, but supposedly it's going to be posted. I think they said in the Wall Street Journal later this week. But here's what an excerpt of it reads. Residents of those states, including those who work at your company, may suffer as a result of this decision. Families and individuals can now be punished for private healthcare decisions, not to mention many lives will be upended as people are stripped of a 50-year-old right. As you weigh the repercussions facing your employees, customers, and vendors, we welcome the opportunity to highlight the ways in which Chicago remains a welcoming city for all. Not only has Chicago been the top metro for corporate relocation and expansion for 9 consecutive years, according to Site Selection magazine, we are also home to the second highest concentration of Fortune 500 headquarters in the country. So I mean, this is an interesting method of getting new businesses into the state, and honestly, not something that I had really considered. However, I will say this recent news in regard to Ken Griffin leaving the state did get me. And we were talking like, oh, did these letters, obviously the timing of the Roe v. Wade, but then the timing of all these corporations leaving the state of Illinois. And so Ken Griffin being one of those billionaires that are leaving and bringing at least portions of Citadel, their headquarters for certain, with them. It's not for certain that all of the employees are going to be leaving Illinois, but yeah, so we talked about this. Well, you guys talked about this on Friday, because this announcement was made, I think, either Wednesday or Thursday last week. And I watched your coverage from last Friday. And so I don't mean to get too much into the weeds unless you guys want to get into, anything new or fresh.
I think we covered it, from the angle of like good riddance to him, but also we wanted to kind of just provide some commentary and observation on why this guy's a fucking criminal. And, I hope the door hits him on the ass on the way out, because for all the bullshit he's claiming about, he's worried about his employees' safety. His employees have been stabbed. His employees have been shot. As I was hearing him talk about this and crime in Chicago, which we do legitimately have crime in Chicago. But I was thinking, like, where can I look up the stats of how many Citadel employees have been shot or stabbed, as he claims is the reason for picking up stakes and getting out of town? It's because he couldn't buy his candidate for governor. And he's going to get better breaks, cheaper real estate down in Florida, building on land that he'll hopefully sink in.
Well, that's what I was going to say. I don't know how smart Florida
while
is.
He's blowing Ron DeSantis, throwing money his way. Sorry.
And I still think that Florida is his early escape plan. As soon
that too.
As soon as the walls close in on his Wall Street shenanigans, that the feds are going to come after him, and he's going to flee to Cuba or the Cayman Islands or somewhere that he can easily fly or sail out of from Miami.
Sadly, Ed, I don't think the feds are going to come after him. They haven't done anything all year long with stuff out in the light of day with the dark pools and the market manipulation. Plus, there was a Twitter handle that had somehow or another, they had a lead on how to track Ken Griffin's plane by its transponder going across the ocean.
If you know the number,
he likes to go up to like he likes to go up to what is the region that's over Great Britain? I want to say the Netherlands. He likes to like travel into like Northern Europe. He's got some, I don't know, like probably supervillain base of operations there. So I don't know about Cuba or South America. I think he's already been kind of setting up if he's hounded out of the country, but I don't think, Ed, it's going to have anything to do with the feds punishing him.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
And he's also from Florida. I don't know if that has anything to do with that choice or not, but I have a feeling that has more to do with taxes.
Yeah.
And he's claiming that he had employees like urging to move to Florida, which, I mean, come on. Anyway.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, no,
we didn't. Do you know how much money it's going to cost them to pick up stakes and move down there? You think he's going to help cover that bill?
Well, that's what I was thinking. It's like the employees that were asking him that are like high-level executives. Let's be real. Hello. Yeah. Come on.
All right, those that could afford it, but.
Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, that's who else is what Citadel employees are talking to Ken Griffin on a regular basis?
Oh, Kira, he does not want here, let me tell you a little Ken Griffin story from someone who was up close to him. A friend of mine shared with me that they were involved in a video shoot. And they didn't know who the subject matter was of this big corporate video shoot. And lo and behold, who enters the room? But Ken Griffin with his steely blue eyes. And the crew was instructed they are not to make eye contact with him. They are not to talk to him.
Who does he think he is? Jennifer Lopez? Come on.
Well, he thinks he's something. But yeah, no, it was no rumor. It came from a solid authority. This guy thinks his shit doesn't stink, and
I beg your pardon. What did you say?
and why should he, when he's literally got the power of the SEC turning a blind eye to all of his crime, manipulating Wall Street and the markets worldwide?
Yeah, absolutely. And I actually learned so much from what you guys were talking about on Friday. So if, for those of you who didn't catch the Friday show and get into the nitty gritty of the dealings of Citadel and how, and largely how portion of their company runs, that was a lot of what y'all got into on Friday.
Yeah.
And today what I wanted to dig into, because I always think about like taxes, because I feel like that's what everybody is concerned for. So that's what I automatically get concerned for, is taxes. And so I looked at, the tax payments of Griffin. I wish that I could find more from Citadel. It was very strange. But Griffin alone, who is worth approximately $25 billion, which is out already, pays over $200 million in state income taxes every year. And then I thought this was really interesting, you guys. And the article goes on to say that the Citadel employees have themselves paid over $1 billion to the state over the past decade, which honestly seems kind of funny to me. So he pays more in individual taxes annually than his employees do in all of Illinois combined.
And which article did that information come from?
This one was
Jacobin?
There were I don't think it was Jacobin. I think it was the either the Vox or the
because we have a lot of links related to this particular.
Yeah, that's because
that's all right.
I looked at a lot.
I just want to make sure I pulled up the right. We could very, very easily make up the loss of tax revenue that we're losing from Citadel if we just enacted that goddamn transactional tax for LaSalle Street. 2 cents per transaction, right? It would take care of what we, but we'll never do it. The mayor will never do it. City council will never do it because they are just complicit in.
That would grab
in shielding.
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, Jerry, but that would definitely grab a lot of money from all those algorithmic transactions that take place that are screwing over retail investors right now.
Yeah, and apparently the LaSalle Street tax could actually bring in, from what I'm understanding as I read quickly, several billions per year for Illinois. So that would be a hugely successful way of bringing in taxes, and it'd be so low that it.
And it
honestly,
it makes too much sense.
Noticeable.
Those guys doing those transactions, 2 cents per transaction. Who the F do you think you are? I got to make my millions. That's just too much for every transaction. It's literally like. It's probably $10 out of what $1,000 is to us, if that, right? That's what it is, and that's how fucking greedy and utterly just morally bankrupt and selfish they are. They don't want to give back because they're better than the rest of us. They suck up the resources of the commons that we're all involved in, and they just don't want to pay their fair share. Actually, the article you were talking about, it's the CNBC article I was able to pull up. In relation to what you were talking about. So I just have the right screen up.
Right on. Awesome. Yeah. So his personal tax bill actually is more than 1% of the total revenue that Illinois draws from income taxes. So it's a pretty good chunk. And the LaSalle Street tax, I couldn't agree with you more. I think that is such a good idea. It is the idea that makes, $68 million a month. Let that sink in. Let me see here. Let me read some of the other breakdowns that I found and came up with. So Griffin's ex-wife said that his monthly gross income approaches $100 million and his net monthly income after taxes is about $68.5 million. So that's after taxes, right? That works out to more than $2.2 million a day and upward of $90,000 per hour.
That's more money than you can spend in 20 lifetimes, and he still has to criminally manipulate the market with his company Citadel to just make sure and deny retail investors who are trading honestly never have any kind of what's the word? Any life-changing wealth in their lifetimes, honestly trading. That's who this piece of shit is.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is that they just don't want to see retail investors beat them at their own game.
Yeah, honestly. By analyzing the data and understanding, hey, we're doing this the right way. These hedge funds have shorted the hell and over-leveraged themselves, created counterfeit shares, synthetics, to basically manipulate the market, shares that don't exist. It's like I sell my 2 flat here to 20 people with one deed and take their money and nothing happens to me because of it. That's what these guys are doing with the dark pools and everything we talked about Friday. Not to go off topic, but it's just like when you see how much money this piece of shit is making and understanding it's illegally obtained money because he has so much money to manipulate the system, it just makes your blood boil.
Well, and not only that, but when you have money, right, you can actually generate new money that much easier. So people have this whole false idea that people who have a ton of money are these hard workers, and it's just not true.
No.
No. And just to give you more of an idea of this level of wealth, he just bought the nation's most expensive home for $238 million.
He also bought a copy of the Constitution, Kira.
I heard
an
that.
original copy, not the original Constitution, but one of the copies that was drafted at the time because they had multiple copies of the Constitution. He bought one of those.
And he'll make NFTs
this is money
out
to
of
burn, literally. He snapped up $590 million in real estate in Chicago, Miami Beach, Palm Beach, London, and of course the Hamptons, right? He shelled out a combined, and I'm sure it's to help people find housing.
Oh, sure.
He shelled out a combined $500 million for artwork. $500 million.
This guy is so
million for artwork.
Disconnected from reality. He is in his own mind the king of the world because he's untouchable.
Yeah, so kind of bonkers.
Impacting the lives of so many other people across the world is the problem.
So I got to thinking, I thought, the South Street tax, I think, in this concern, right, that this fair concern of people that were losing a large chunk of revenue here. I got to thinking that the best way to give Ken Griffin a nice smack on the ass out the way, on his way out the door, was to, start thinking about creating an Illinois public bank. Just maybe taking a little bit of business also away from his company, and start banking in a much wiser way as a state, right? So let me make my case real quick, and I want to hear what you guys think.
But really quickly, Gene in the chat, what else can he do with all that money? It is an illness. Yes, it is an illness.
Agreed.
We normally identify hoarders as having a mental illness. Hoarding money is as bad as hoarding anything. This guy
doesn't take up your house as much, so it's not as
well,
right?
But because we also worship wealth in this country, that's the thing.
Right.
Hey, everybody wants to do well. Okay, I'm not anti-capitalist. Everyone wants to do well. But when you're hoarding it and essentially controlling the system so that nobody else can benefit, and it becomes a class war, so you're creating a serf economy, and you understand the mentality, the psychology of this guy's a hoarder. It's a mental illness. So much is never enough for him, as we identify hoarders in any other situation. But because it's money, Kira, it's okay.
That's right. That's right.
And also, I should point out that you don't have to be a capitalist in order to be a merchant. You can have, a business, and you can try to do well without having your primary goal being to make millions and millions of dollars. You could,
100%, yeah.
So
most
for people to continue,
I know that's not the goal.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but then people see what happens is a lot of people are conditioned into thinking that anytime you're a small business owner or any kind of business owner, you're automatically a capitalist.
Right.
And that's a problem.
I'm a small business owner, and I'm not a capitalist.
It's not a great way of thinking because
and I'm an anti-capitalist.
You have to basically have capital in order to be.
Instead of rotating your revenues every month into buying more inventory and basically eking out just enough to pay your bills, which is fine, hoping that you hit the big time and essentially make a little bit more money so that you can live a more comfortable life for all the work you put in. But look, trading, Wall Street, this is not working. This is like pushing buttons and pushing paper. And by the way, this is how I would like to wish Ken Griffin a happy passage out of town.
Hey, weatherman!
Peace.
Dare to dream.
Yes!
That's so good. That's so
Sorry, I
good.
had to do it.
That's all right.
So anyway,
Let's
yes,
let Kira
I
continue.
thought,
Let's let
I
her
thought it
continue.
would be a lovely good riddance to
Yeah.
start to move in the direction of a public bank. The Bank of North Dakota, actually, I did a story on it some time ago over at Hardlens, and ever since I've just been like, why are we not doing this? It's the nation's only public bank. It's a government-owned and operated entity that prioritizes public access over profit and offers fair banking services to North Dakotans while private banks can't or won't. It has $8 billion in assets. BND now offers business and student loans along with commercial services. Student loans are facilitated directly with BND, but other loans are called participation loans. They go through a local financial institution, often with BND support. For example, if someone wants to take out a business loan for $20,000 with a local bank, the Bank of North Dakota would lend half of the money, $10,000, and minimize the risk for the bank. The result, the individual and the local bank or credit union are supported by BND through single transaction. According to the 2018 Economic Development Report, the Bank of North Dakota made 491 commercial loans totaling $971 million and 402 agricultural loans totaling $182 million. The vast majority of those were participation loans in partnership with local financial institutions across the state. All of North Dakota's state tax and fee revenues get deposited by default into the Bank of North Dakota, prohibited by law from competing with the private sector. It has no branches or ATMs. And this July, the bank will be 103 years old. According to Vox, the bank had net earnings, and the Vox got it from that 2018 report, had net earnings of $159 million in 2018 and has had positive net income every year as far back as 1966. And that positive net income goes straight back into the coffers of the communities and loans to businesses. New Jersey conducted a feasibility study to examine the impact of public banking. Drawing on earlier feasibility studies in Santa Fe and Vermont, they estimated that a state-owned bank would yield $16 million to $21 million in output for every $10 million invested. Raise state income from 3.8 million to 5.2 million and add 60 to 93 jobs. Unlike private banks, public banks would also contribute profits to city and state governments, depending on how they're structured. And we also know from Tom Tresser's book, We're Not Broke, that when we borrow from these private entities, we set ourselves back hundreds of millions of dollars in interest. Just look what's happening with those CPS loans that got taken out. Now I think there's 800 some odd million dollars worth of interest we owe. We got to stop hemorrhaging money like that, and a public bank would stop the bleeding on interest for future loans. So I just really think, as I was thinking about solutions to this issue, I was thinking, gosh, that would be a really great direction to go in, being that one of our big issues with the budget is that we do hemorrhage money in the area of interest rates, right? And so a penny saved is a penny earned in my book. And then also just to be able to invest in our own communities and make money back on that is a really, really huge deal. What are your guys' thoughts on that?
Well, let me share some quick live chat. Ilhan R says, you want to know who runs the world's governments? Answer, look at the Forbes richest people's list. All governments answer to the billionaire class. Like George Carlin said, we live in a country of owners and the owned. Now, I did bring up the link that relates to what you were sharing about a public bank and the, logistics bringing one to Chicago as it relates to what the Bank of North Dakota did. Personally, I took all my money out of Chase and put it into a local bank that's across the street from me called the Devon Bank. It's a small community bank. It's been here like forever. I remember my grandmother used to bank at it, and I have my business banking in the financial credit union in Glenview, because I think credit unions are also the way to go to keep your money away from the big banks that are gambling it on Wall Street and charging you to use your money. I'd say until we see if there's any possibility of a public bank for the city of Chicago, put your money into small local banks or credit unions. Get out of Chase, get out of JP Morgan, get out of Bank of America, Wells Fargo. They're all, as criminally run as Citadel, with the hedge funds that we're dealing with, and they're all in collusion with each other.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And actually, this public bank for the city of Chicago, this report was actually kind of interesting, and it's very short. But it talks about how, and you might know a little bit about this. I'm not sure, Jerry, but Maya Enya, I think I'm saying her name right.
I know
she
Amara.
supported a public bank of Chicago, but this report reports that basically it would be wiser to do a public bank for the state of Illinois.
It was a smart idea, and unfortunately her campaign was saddled with other issues that distracted attention away from solid proposals like this one, which I think she was absolutely right on. I was a big admirer of Amara and a lot of the stuff that she presented and a lot of the directions that she felt city government needed to embrace to serve its citizens. But unfortunately, she had some other campaign issues that sadly hobbled her efforts and again, distracted people from the very relevant issues that she brought up that I felt a lot of people felt made sense. Doesn't matter what I think. A lot of people, I remember there was a debate and Gary McCarthy was there, the police superintendent who was running for mayor. And they asked each of the candidates, and, Gary McCarthy is, very militant, cop culture, Republican, conservative. And they asked all the candidates, if you couldn't vote for yourself, who would you vote for? And McCarthy looked at Amara and was like, I'd vote for Amara because she's got good ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even another candidate, an adversarial candidate, could see she had some really solid stuff to present, which is why, we need to ask this of our alder people and our civic leaders in Chicago and our upcoming mayoral candidates. What do you think about the public bank for the city or the state?
I know. I was thinking about that too.
Something to add to the pledge, Ed.
I know.
Actually, Jerry, we already have that
All right.
on the pledge. It's
Go ahead. Sorry,
we have
go
a
ahead.
section called Established Public Banking that says work with state and local representatives and others to establish a Chicago public bank to better use available monetary resources currently used by private banks and put money back in the hands of citizens and local small business to strengthen local economy.
Very good.
Nice.
All right.
Guys.
You earned your pay this broadcast, Ed.
Nice work, you guys. And I just wanted to highlight a really substantial point from Extra Bulla, which is a public bank is better than a pubic bank.
A public bank is better than a pubic bank. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Anyway.
Important safety tip. Thank you, Warren.
But we won't shame either.
No, we won't. We will not. All right, cool. So Citadel's leaving. I think we have lots of options and how to replace them. We just have no political will for it. Huzzah! Onward. I've been watching The Great recently, so I don't know if you guys have seen that show.
Which show is it?
It's called The Great.
The Great. What service is it on?
Shit, if I know, I don't know.
Well, who's in it? I haven't heard of it.
But it is about Catherine the Great, Russia.
Oh, okay.
It's fantastic. I am sure that much of it is not based in completely true.
So huzzah is used a lot in this program.
Huzzah! Yes.
Huzzah! Okay.
And it's a lot of fun to say. All right. Okay. So now
Next story I should bring up. You want me to what gun possession? Block Club Chicago.
Say that again.
I want to bring up the story screen for you. Are we going into the gun possession story?
Yeah, let's go into actually kids and guns, I think, first, and then gun possession. Both of these stories are, depressing. So, and then Extra Bulla, thank you for humoring me. I'm currently shirtless and full of shame.
TMI, Warren. TMI.
Never TMI. You can always share
teasing.
whatever you want. Okay,
Extra
cool.
Bulla airing Thursdays on another network.
All right. So, I'll just, I don't even know if an apology is necessary, but it almost feels like it that I tend to continuously bring up gun-related items. But it's all just so, glaring.
No need to apologize. Might I add really quickly?
Yeah.
really quickly before we go into this. Episode 1 of our Can TV Chicago Corner show aired Saturday and last night. It is now live on the channel. It went up yesterday at 5 o'clock. It is about documentary filmmaker Valerie Goodloe, who is a civic activist here in Chicago, who is doing a docuseries on gun violence as it impacts families all across Chicago. So as we're talking about this topic, and Kira takes the lead after I'm finished just sharing that, if you have an opportunity after the show, go over to the Chicago Corner channel and check out the premiere episode of our Can TV Chicago Corner show. It's a 27-minute sit-down interview with guests from all across Chicago. And as that particular show relates to the topic at hand, I thought it might be a good opportunity to quickly promote it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. And thank you for
allowing me to share.
Yeah, and thanks
indulging me. Thank you for indulging me. Get your butt out of my face.
Interviews with people who are doing interesting things and
Yeah.
amplifying them. So we all know that firearm-related deaths have spiked across the U.S. This isn't the story that I'm starting with, though.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's the second, because there are two gun stories there.
I have
the
to
one
switch.
regarding the kids.
Yeah, let's do the one regarding the kids first.
You can start it. I'll just pop the screen up.
Sure. Thank you.
welcome.
So we all know that the firearm-related deaths have spiked across the U.S. and in Illinois during the COVID-19 pandemic. I came across a pretty startling article from the Tribune a couple weeks ago, examined how guns are impacting children and in Illinois. So in Illinois, firearm deaths spiked from 1,367 deaths in 2019 to 1,745 deaths in 2020, which is a 28% increase. The CDC report cited that. Here we go. Perfect. Cited homicide by firearm as the leading cause of violent injury death for those between the ages of 1 and 24. I'm going to repeat that. The CDC report cited homicide by firearm as the leading cause of violent injury death for those between ages of 1 and 24, and suicide by firearm as the leading cause of such deaths. The report cited 390 firearm homicides and 70 firearm suicides in the state of Illinois in 2020. So motor vehicle crashes were long the leading cause of death among young people. But in 2017, the following decades of safety improvements in automobiles and growing numbers of guns in homes across the U.S., gun injuries became the most common cause of death for children. Gun injuries became the most common cause of death for children, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics report.
I'm starting to go blue in the face, repeating this over and over and over again as we're talking about the gun violence epidemic and the fact that everybody wants to have their guns because the Second Amendment affords them that right. The Second Amendment does not afford you the right to ammunition. Somebody has to make a smart legal argument for not legislating, but controlling ammunition sales. I really do think that that's the next step, is to control ammunition sales. You want to have your gun, you want to run around with it, show it off, put it up on your wall, wave it around. That's great. But you know what? If you don't have any ammunition, you can't hurt anybody. And you know what? I've said this a million times before also. I'm not against people with proper background checks that might want to buy a handgun or a rifle for hunting and sport or protecting their homes. But this bullshit about, I have a right to an AR-15 so I can go hunt a deer. No, you don't. You don't have a right to, there's no reason to have that kind of a weapon at all. It is at the heart of every mass shooting we're seeing across the United States is these paramilitary weapons that everybody thinks, fall under the purview of the Second Amendment. And let's not forget either, the Second Amendment was meant to not only allow you the right to bear arms, but for the purpose of creating militias to rise up against tyranny, which I don't see anybody doing. I see them basically running around showing off what tough guys they are when they're not watching their, football on Sundays or anything else that, makes them feel tough. But yeah, start controlling the flow of ammunition, because that's not a constitutional right. And some people might think I'm being silly saying that. I'm not. You've got people who know how to twist the law into a pretzel to get what they want. If our representatives and civic leaders or activists, that's what they should start saying. That's what they should shift the. Good, fine. You want to keep your guns?
Fine, right? All right, fine, right?
No.
Yeah, I mean, there's a solution right there. Yeah, exactly, Eleanor. Yep, absolutely. Yeah, so I just wanted to. And Ed, did you want to add anything before because this is a pretty
No, I got
short
nothing
story.
to add.
Yeah. It's a pretty short story and short and sad, right? We are now, at least in the state of Illinois, the death of children, the leading cause is guns. So I'll sit with that in discomfort and as we watch our federal legislators do nothing about it.
Nothing, yeah. And while, they're all concerned about life when it comes to preventing people from having abortions, right? But they're not concerned about those lives of those kids in school controlling the fucking guns or ammunition, as I'm going to keep saying.
Yeah. Okay.
That's the hypocrisy. That's the hypocrisy of these extreme right-wing religious wackos that want to control women's choice with their bodies because of moral judgments, but have no compunction in their argument for wanting to protect life, carrying over into keeping kids safe across the country, or anybody safe from these maniacs, 18-year-old maniacs who can go get their hands on a paramilitary weapon to go prove something by shooting up a school while the impotent cops are standing around outside with their dicks in their hands, macing the parents who are like, get off your asses and get inside there and do something with your body armor that you're showing off on social media. Oh, the Uvalde police, we got our body armor, showing off what big tough guys you are while you're standing outside of school for an hour while some maniac is inside murdering got to have your guns, but you can't have abortions.
Yep.
Sorry.
No, you don't have to apologize. I definitely agree. And
it's insanity, Kira. That's the thing it's like we're constantly faced with the insanity and the hypocrisy, and we're here bitching about it Tuesdays and Fridays, trying to provide some solutions that it's just like pissing in the wind talking about.
Yeah. And, and Jean brings up a point that it's a human rights issue and it isn't debatable. And I don't know if that's facetiousness or them being serious, but I will push back on that if that's being serious, because I believe that every single human right has limitations on it. And I think that we can make an example of that I think almost every single one of them.
Yeah, so, I think she's being facetious. Abortion. It's a human rights issue. A human rights issue for women.
I thought it was facetiousness. Yeah. So, but obviously, so then we're in agreement. Then we look at the abortion situation, and there are limitations on abortion, just like there ought to be limitations on our Second Amendment rights. And we hear about the limitations on our First Amendment rights, the classic, don't shout fire, blah, blah, blah. There are just certain things that for the safety of the population that we can just say, maybe that we can draw the line there. And that's a common sense place to draw the line. That's the issue, is just that common sense isn't running the show right now. I think we all know what is.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the other piece I wanted to bring up about guns, right? Again, another just really interesting story that isn't specifically like, oh, there were 36 deaths in Chicago again this weekend, right? Or shootings or whatever. Is just this idea that these Second Amendment rights are not being doled out fairly either.
Of course not. Not if you're a person of color.
No.
You know what?
Black.
And
if you're black, you better be careful carrying that gun around.
I'll tell you something else. With the Supreme Court deciding to rule on the fact that everybody, because of that New York case, has a right to carry in public now, you know what's rightists on the Supreme Court? Be careful what you wish for, because you might start arming the people that are going to start shooting back at the cops. And maybe actually form those militias to fight back against the tyranny we're all talking about here in this new class war.
Yeah, and it wasn't in California, wasn't it Reagan that actually rolled back gun rights in the state of California because the Black Panthers were standing by and watching cops
you're right.
Doing pulling over, and they were making the cops real uncomfortable because Black people are scary, and especially Black people with guns. So anyway, now Jerry, I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. Hold on. Let me unmute you. Let me see if that helps. Ooh. There we go. Talk now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, look, they didn't want to give people of color, equal rights to begin with. You think they're going to want to give them the same fair access to guns that the Second Amendment is supposed to afford everybody equally? Of course not.
Right. But instead of doing things like say, okay, maybe we shouldn't have all of this access to really crazy weaponry, instead of doing that, now we're just arresting them at higher rates. So let me get into that story. Nobody is surprised.
One quick comment, Gene, You're so true. Their goal is to have a white Christian nation where women are second-class citizens. Read their manifesto. It literally says this. One other thing, if you don't believe that, go YouTube search after the show, Lauren Boebert speaking at a church. Literally, she's a neo-Christian fascist talking about how the government is supposed to listen to churches, not the other way around. You don't see this behind-the-scenes video. You don't see it on the regular news. But when it leaks out, you understand how utterly insane some of these representatives are at pushing these agendas towards a white Christian nation.
Yep, she's bonkers, man. All right, so not to pass judgment, but she's bonkers. Too late. So there are, hopefully I didn't get it too much into the weeds on the details of the story, but I'll just share it with you quick. There are two ways that felony cases move through the court system. One is grand juries, which meet in secret for a month straight to hear hundreds of cases and then rarely decide to not indict. Right, you always heard about like you can indict a ham sandwich with a grand jury, right? That's the running joke of indict grand juries. And then there are preliminary hearings where prosecutors present their case to a judge and defense attorneys, and they have the opportunity to argue why the arrest should be thrown out. So before 2014, about 5% of cases in Cook County where illegal gun possession was the top charge went through grand juries. But then from 2016 to 18, prosecutors brought more than 95% of those cases through grand juries, okay, according to an analysis of decades of Cook County court. So it's just so interesting, this story, because it lights my hair on fire. But part of me wonders if this is as a methodology of trying to curb guns or gun usage, but it ends up targeting the wrong people. Why? Because Black people get pulled over more, Black people get searched more. Like it's completely systemically racist, how this is all done. And so if there's no opportunity for a Black person who say has their license to carry, right, but they go to a grand jury and they never get an opportunity to actually fight their case before they get indicted, then boom, they're indicted, and there's no chance to say, hey, like I shouldn't actually be, So in this particular story, there was a specific story about a guy who basically he was a licensed gun owner. Oh, he was an unlicensed gun owner, right? Carrying a gun. And he got in, honestly, much bigger trouble than he should have gotten into for what he was doing. As Chicago police officers make 100 more gun possession arrests each year, those cases are less likely to go to trial and more likely to end in a guilty plea. In 2017, approximately 75% of defendants in gun cases pleaded guilty, the highest rate since 2010. The Cook County State's Attorney's Office has aggressively prosecuted gun possession cases, even as officials have said publicly that nonviolent gun arrests brought as many as 1,400 people with no prior felony convictions into the criminal justice system. 1,400 people with no prior felony convictions in the criminal justice system. And these are gun offenses that are not violent, like basically not having a gun license, right, and carrying a gun. The office's chief data officer said it last year that we might be creating a lot of people that will forever be marked as a felon. Most of those people are young Black men who may not have been able to afford the paperwork or meet the requirements to legally carry a gun in Illinois. Black Chicago residents were most affected by the shift to grand juries. Black people made up 80% of those charged with the nonviolent gun offenses we examined, which included unlawful use of a weapon, aggravated unlawful use of a weapon, armed habitual criminal, and FOID card violations. Many of these arrests start with minor traffic stops on the west and south sides, according to analysis. Of course, that's how they get caught, right? Because white people don't carry around guns without licenses.
They don't want to arrest the white people who are carrying the guns without their licenses.
Yeah.
They only want to arrest the black ones.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Because of the racial profiling, and to make sure that you're keeping your heel on the neck of the people on the south and west sides. Now, I'm not advocating people should run around without a license to their guns, but the thing is that this is a racially slanted issue that you cannot avoid pointing out at the hypocrisy and the unequal justice that's being meted out. The cops, if this is so important to them, they should be doing it in Lincoln Park. They should be doing it in North Side neighborhoods as well. It's not a priority to them because the people in those neighborhoods are the same color skin as them. So,
well, and in fact, according to Pew Research, gun ownership is most common among white men.
Yeah, of course it is. Look at they're the ones all over social media who want their AR-15s and Second Amendment and, you'll prime my gun from my dead fingers or whatever it was that they say.
Yep. Yeah. 46% say they are gun owners compared to 28% of those who live in the suburbs and 19% in urban areas, 19%. There are significant differences across parties, with Republican and Republican-leaning independents more than twice as likely as Democrats, or those who lean Democrat, to say they own a gun, 44% versus 20%. Wow. And 80% of nonviolent gun-related crime is Black people. 80% of nonviolent gun-related crime is Black people. Of course it is. So let's see. In 2017, Pew Research study released that captured Illinois' polls regarding gun ownership. Only 1 in 4 Black people reported having a gun. 80%, you guys, 80% are Black people that are prosecuted with these nonviolent gun crimes. 1 in 4 Black people report having a gun, compared to 1 in 3 white people. And they were far more likely to believe that more guns mean more crime. And that, okay, so what did I say here? And that being, and then being that Black people make such a far smaller percentage of white people also. I forgot about that, right? So it'd be really
I'm sorry,
strange.
say that again.
Don't forget the private prison system that's benefiting from all these people of color that they're picking up and throwing in jail.
Well, I said only 1 in 4 Black people report having a gun compared to 1 in 3 white people. And right now, 80% of the indicted criminals are Black people for nonviolent gun offenses, right? And one thing I added to the article that wasn't in the article was that there are far fewer as a percentage Black people than white people. And so the fact that 80% of Black people are making up nonviolent gun offenses is way skewed. Way skewed is the understatement of the year. So this is one of those areas where we start to see how these rights that we have are not everybody's rights, right?
No,
So
I don't know. I thought I misheard you say something like 100% of white people are not Black people.
The right to
And I was like, what?
You're like, what? Well, I mean, I can't remember her name. I was going to say that's not true because we do know that, and Rachel, what's her name, is a white person who is a Black person. So, can't remember her name. Was that it?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Dolezal, yeah.
Okay. Wow, you guys have
Rachel
good memories. Damn.
Well, she was a standout as far as interesting, eccentric people. So.
Yeah, she really was. The fact that I remember her first name is an anomaly. So yeah, I wanted to highlight those numbers. I'm a huge statistics nerd. I love looking at numbers. I love looking at data. I love looking at how things line up over a period of time. So I appreciate you guys sitting through all of that with me as we.
It's important to those stats. The stats are painting a really important picture.
Yeah. So, Jean, great. Thank you so much, Jean, because you're helping us sister out over here. Overall, 58.3% of Illinois' population is white. 13.9% are Black. And Black people apparently make up 80% of the nonviolent gun offenses.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's a huge skew. I'm baffled by it. Like, It's a travesty. Think about
It's-
all those
you know what?
families whose lives are ruined.
Yeah. But it's not really baffling. What's baffling is that how clearly obvious they are, and they just don't give a shit about how it is that they're racially profiling. The stats aren't as baffling because, unfortunately, we know how much racism and prejudice is the undercurrent of everything that happens, even though, the police and everyone else pretend that it's not. Of course it is. What's baffling is, how do you think you can keep fooling us when it's so clearly obvious? That just shows a disrespect and a contempt for people that are pointing out how obvious that it is.
Absolutely. It's like, we know how
Torches,
to
pitchforks, guillotines, when?
Hey, I'm reading a book right now that's called "How Nonviolence Protects the State." I'll share.
Right?
I'll share with all of you as I work my way through the book.
This is an interesting point, though, too, Kira, because I'm not advocating for violence, but clearly peaceful protest has not worked, and because the ruling class knows it, that they can ignore it. Kennedy, who said, "When peaceful protest is," I'm probably mangling the quote. "When peaceful protest is ignored, it makes violent revolution inevitable," something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And Kennedy saw that, and our elected officials, no, they're not going to stand up against us, man. We got drones, we got the police state. Who's going to stand up against us? And let them protest. Let them feel like they're all doing something. But we don't. We sit on our fat asses and do nothing, laughing.
I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, "I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore!"
I didn't cue that. Ed did. Ed, are you saying that's what I'm starting to sound like?
I just thought it was a good place to drop that in there.
That scene is really
very
good.
much was.
That scene is really good. Yeah, it got me real angry the last time I saw it. So,
Dale Hodder shares 90% of America works paycheck to paycheck. 40 million homeless live in America. 20% of homeless are children. That's 8 million kids that sleep on the streets. If that isn't enough to promote some kind of more, intense action than just walking around with signs asking the government to start taking care of us, I don't know what else should.
We got to start taking over property. That's what I'm guessing this book is going to say, but we'll see. We'll see because
the phrase you're looking for is direct action, and that can be that can be done in many ways that we're not going to describe in detail here on Chicago Corner.
We won't be doing it on the internet.
But one thing we can recommend is mutual aid, and that can also be done in different ways. But the reality is that all mutual aid really means is helping your community in any way that you can.
Gene shares a good point. Research looking at successful quote-unquote uprisings finds that 3.5% of the population is what needs to be out in the streets protesting to make any changes they want.
I've heard that too.
I understand that, but look, we've seen, barring January 6th, we've seen other peaceful protests filling the Capitol, filling the what is it? Where the pool, the reflective pool is. The entire plaza is full.
The mall, yeah.
Overflowing. The mall. Thank you. And it's like, and I mean, I don't doubt what you're saying, but the problem is getting people out there, transporting people, getting them to travel to. Plus, Washington now is becoming. Look, they put fences up all over, and they've got SWAT teams all over the Capitol. They've got snipers on. They had snipers on the roof of the Supreme Court when they passed down the Roe v. Wade ruling.
Yeah, what were they expecting?
Yeah, and January 6th gave them the opportunity to insulate themselves with walls and fences all around the Capitol. I mean, if that doesn't, we don't realize it because we don't see it unless we look for it and see how our elected representatives are literally preventing any kind of, maybe they sense that this is what could happen after January 6th. Yeah. January 6th was for all the wrong reasons, but, maybe our elected representatives are getting a little bit afraid. They should be afraid.
They should be afraid.
Yeah. Because they're supposed to serve us.
Our elected representatives tend to, in majority, be influenced by their large money donors. So if you're going to consider something along the lines of a direct action, you have to do something that's going to hit those donors in the pocketbook. Whether it's every woman everywhere walking out of the big corporations on a general strike type situation, until they restore the reproductive rights of everyone, or some type, that something like that.
And we've been talking general strikes now all throughout the pandemic. I mean, they've been Kit was talking about it on Hardlands Media. You may have been involved in some of those segments on general strikes over at Hardlands before coming over to Chicago Corner. Everybody's been talking about a general strike for the past year, but it's like, how do you get people to finally say, you know what, I'm going to do it? They're too afraid to do it because they've got so little to hold on to. And the power is in the hands of the corporations that are busting unions and closing down stores where unions form to teach these workers a lesson.
It's why you need support systems.
Yeah.
And that's why I also brought up mutual aid, because and we've had some fellow broadcasters in independent media. They I don't remember how long ago, not that long ago, did a series of live streams that they called the General Strike Summit, where they talked about what it would take for them to prepare for something like a general strike, and a lot of it involved mutual aid and teaching people how to do their own gardening and how to assist other people and to collaborate with other groups to make sure that people have support, because if you're not working anymore, you need to find ways to keep going. And so that these are things that have to be discussed. You can't, I mean, it'd be nice if everyone could just, say, okay, flip a switch and I'm doing general strike, and then that'll make them do what we want. But it's a little more complicated.
But other countries have done it. France has done it. I mean, European countries have done it. It's been successful.
Well,
sadly,
they have universal health care, though.
Right. But I also think, sadly, I've made this point, in conversations previously, Europe went through 2 world wars. Yeah. They suffered like we can't imagine suffering. They sacrificed the way we can't imagine sacrificing. And I think that they are better equipped to decide we're going to, whether they have health care or not, they are better built to go out in general strike and stand out there and get the government to back down and meet their demands. We
definitely need some manure launching trucks.
But
I
sadly,
think that's a good idea.
Sadly, I don't know that Americans, and I'm not knocking Americans, but it's like, because we haven't, aside from 9/11, which killed 3,000 people and had repercussions across all those families, Americans didn't really have to sacrifice and struggle after that. It was a moment that brought us all together. When you're talking about 2 world wars that decimate a continent, that really strengthens and what's the word? It forges the type of strength that Europeans have when they do their general strikes. And because of their sacrifices and the hardships that they've gone through, we are definitely going through some very serious hardships here. I don't want to diminish the proportion of the hardships or that we're enduring. But I just don't know what it's going to take to get American people to sacrifice and say we're going to stand out there in general strike for as long as we need to until we get results. You have protests and strikes that last a couple days, and then everything's back to business. Then it really doesn't usurp things the way it does in Europe. I think people have got to, look at what's happening across the ocean and how you get your elected representatives to act. It's sacrifice. It's like advertising, and it's like frequency and repetition. Yeah. When you run a commercial to get results, frequency, repetition. That's what direct actions and protests have to be in the United States. Because if you're just out for a weekend, everybody packs up and goes home, but he forgets about it until the next direct action. So, and that's what you see in Europe with their general strikes. It's frequency and repetition. They're out there all the time until they get what they want.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
and the other thing that we can do is we can get more involved in community type mutual aid systems, like this, for example, the
Yeah,
Chicago
I
Tool
actually,
Library. See, I mean, this is a community project that is just every city should do something like this. These guys, they're collecting all types of equipment, whether it's tools for building, gardening equipment, what have you, and it's all stored in at the Chicago Tool Library. So basically, it's a library for checking out tools. They have I think they got a website. I think it's chicagotoolllibrary.org, if I remember correctly.
I
Uh,
believe that is correct.
so
Yeah, they're over on.
I
They're in the
wonder if they have.
Bridgeport. They're in the Bridgeport neighborhood. This is in the show notes too. I didn't know if Ed was purposely segueing into this because it's the next story.
Yeah, I had it queued also, but I wonder if they
well,
have torches and pitchforks
yeah.
we can take out.
Well, there might be some in there. We'll have to take a trip there and see what they've got available.
Wonder if they've got a
But
guillotine in
the
storage.
point is, but my point is that these are the types of projects that everyone in their community should get behind and start doing more of, because this is the type of mutual aid that we're going to need if anybody wants to start thinking about doing direct action.
Correct. Absolutely, Ed. I think that's such an incredible point, and I love that you tied this tool library into this idea of a general strike, because it is going to be, if something like that happens, it's going to be all hands on deck. And this tool library is pretty cool. It has
I'm still trying to find the connection, but it's just, I get it.
You're still are? Should I? Okay. I thought the transition was good. All right. Okay. Jerry gives it a 5. All right. So, but yeah, it's a membership model, which I think is really cool. You don't necessarily pay just for here, I'm going to rent this tool for this amount of time. This is how much you pay. It's in a membership model, and you pay what you can. Some people might pay $5 monthly, and some people might pay $350. And the owner, the co-owner, Tessa Virk, says that basically there aren't any late fees, and people choose that the price, and it actually evens out to probably about market value for them. She says, I think it's really important for communities to have access to the tools, literally and figuratively, to take care of themselves. I think you should be able to take care of your home and garden without owning all of those tools. I think you should be able to learn new skills without having to take expensive classes. We have school teachers planting gardens for their classes. We have several small businesses that use our tools to do renovations or to do landscaping outside of their restaurants or their shops. We have people who use our tools to make money, to complete odd jobs. During the pandemic, people borrowed pasta makers and ice cream makers for their families, and they borrowed telescopes for their kids and built custom at-home desks. And then the one thing I want to add that this article didn't mention was that, this cuts down on a ton of waste. Every single person having tools. Extra bullies on fire tonight. On fire.
Can I say something here, Kira? This is an amazing story. It's funny because I've actually considered this in the past. Anytime I've had to go over to Home Depot to rent a tool, we had a storm and a branch fell in the yard and I couldn't lift it, so I had to go rent a chainsaw. And I was thinking on my way to Home Depot for that brief 2 hours I rented, I'm like, why doesn't anybody have what this article is describing, or even more so, a workshop set up where you can go in and rent time to, because I like to craft a lot, but I've got very limited space in my basement. And I wish that there was.
I didn't know that about you,
God,
Jerry.
yeah,
What do you
I
like to make?
Stuff. Well, I build a lot of prop replicas. I paint things. Stuff that's more movie media related. But you use regular tools for that kind of stuff. Whether you want, if you want to, use a jigsaw to cut pieces of plexiglass, or have a spray paint booth. I don't have that room in my basement to do this kind of stuff. And I also like home crafting. I like doing home repairs. I want to take there's a school here in Chicago, the Chicago School of Upholstery, because I've got some old vintage antique couches and chairs in the basement that my grandmother left behind that I'd like to figure out how to reupholster. But I've got no room in the basement to, even if I wanted to purchase the tool set up. So like, along with this great opportunity to go out and borrow the tools, I would go one further and say someone who has the financial resources could really do well creating a co-op that's got a workshop where, you know, you've got the jigsaw set up, you've got table space set up where you can go and you can book your time, say I need a couple hours this day to cut these pieces, to take home, put something together, because not everybody's set up to have a workshop, and it's very cost prohibitive to buy all the power tools or bigger stuff that you need if you want to take on, you know, a construction or a restoration project around the house or in your backyard or wherever.
Yeah. And I actually have a girlfriend. I was going to reach out to her and I just ran out of time. She's in the midst of creating a tool library as well. And I think that she's planning on doing it on the north side. So when I find out about that, I'll share it.
Hackerspaces, Sakumura mentions hackerspaces. I've never heard of hackerspaces, but if that is what I'm describing, I don't know of any around Chicago. Kira or Ed, have you heard of that term, hackerspaces, that might relate to
yes, I can't remember where it is.
Okay.
But yeah, I've heard of them.
Oh,
Let's see if I can find one.
It's getting close to my bedtime.
Okay, so they say that they started one of those on Elsa. I'll have to look into that. Cool. That's good to know, because then I can like take some of my work over there if I can schedule some time there.
Oh, looks like we got a few in Chicago, actually. There's one on the south side called sshchicago.org, Southside Hackerspace.
Okay, cool.
It's a collection of nerds, makers, tinkerers, doers, hackers, artists, students, teachers, and other creatives.
Woo!
This too, Gene says, yeah, it would be good if you don't know how to use the tools, you got to be careful. You don't want to cut your finger off. It would be good to have a teacher, mentor available to learn or to make sure that they use the tool properly. Yeah, he thinks he is Ilhanner.
Oh, the one on Elston is called Pumping Station 1.
Yeah, it is.
Cool. I'm gonna look into that then for my next project where I need tools I don't have here.
Okay, they have an in-person open house Tuesdays at 8 p.m. So I guess you could run over there. Maybe they'll still be open after the show, or wait till next week.
Or you could just wait till next week. Yeah.
Well, that's who found that story? Was it you, Kira?
It was Ed.
Ed found it. Ed, great story, great resource.
Yeah, I mean, these are the types of things that we need to do more of and make people more aware of, because
agreed.
Because we got to help the communities out as much as we can, and if we can collaborate, we can do anything.
Yeah, that's why I like the school meal, the free meal story that you shared. I was like, yes, we're definitely putting this in.
If we put our mind to it, we can do anything, like topless sunbathing in Evanston.
Yeah. Okay, I was the one who found this story. Nobody's surprised by that. Free the nipple. Oh, I want to show my titties everywhere. Okay. A prohibition in the city of Evanston's public nudity ordinance that disallows the exposure of female breasts may be dropped after the discussions had during a recent meeting in the city's Human Services Committee. The possibility of dropping the prohibition was discussed during the June 7th meeting of the city's Human Services Committee after the 8th Ward Council member Devon Reed cited that the state's adoption of an equal rights amendment to the Illinois Constitution in 1970. Upon studying the amendment, Reed said that as it bars discrimination on the basis of gender, that this could apply to women being topless in the same way that men can be in public. I am grateful that Mr. Devon Reed is focused on the important issues, okay? 7th Ward Council.
Although I can't say I'm that comfortable going out in public with my shirt off at the beach right now, but hey, others want to do it. Women want to do it. More power to you.
You're like, I'll be there. 7th Ward Council member Eleanor Revelle. And God, this is my favorite right here. 7th. I'm sorry, it's so funny. This. Yes! Tanya! Okay, this article was so funny. I'm going to try to get through it. Okay.
Okay.
So Eleanor Ravel of the 7th Ward council member in a call with Pioneer Press stated that she hopes the change does not pass, saying she has not had any residents come to her and say they wanted to see this happen. Quote, I'd like people to come to our beaches because they want to enjoy our beaches for the natural resource
What
that
a
it is,
killjoy. What a
rather than
killjoy.
because if it's a topless beach. I'd say titties are a really good natural resource, wouldn't you?
On this
Well,
we can agree.
especially with the formula shortage.
Exactly. And in an interview with Pioneer Press, Mr. Devon Reed, our new hero, said the neighbor municipalities like Skokie, Wilmette, Winnetka, and Kenilworth currently have no laws on the book against toplessness, regardless of their gender, and there isn't widespread nudity in those cities or on those beaches. So this item is going to be tabled until the next meeting, which will be held on Tuesday, July 5th. So,
Wait,
yeah.
which is who? Revel
Thank
is
you, Uncle
Revel is the one that Revel doesn't want it to pass, and Burns
That's
is
right.
one who's proposed it.
Yeah,
I think
that's
when
right.
it passes, we need to put a statue of Burns at every public beach across the city. We need to erect a
I think
statue.
his name is Devon Reed. Sorry.
Oh, Devon Reed. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong name. Devon Reed needs to be honored in beaches
Honored.
across the city with a statue erected in his honor. And that's what she said.
Ching. It'll really perk everybody up, if you ask me.
Oh my God. Yes, it is. The breast story of the night.
Hilarious. Oh, man.
That is
Okey-dokey.
the breast.
I beg your pardon. What did you say?
You're welcome.
Come on,
You're
Warren.
welcome. See, all the important stuff, I save it for last. Okay.
Let's shift gears really quickly into something kind of serious related to the story. Jean says, I really do not care about women being topless. I don't know why. I agree with you, but it's because this society is so puritanical and so repressed, and women's breasts have always been connected to sexuality, right? And, certainly it's a beautiful feature on a curvy woman. It's part of femininity and stuff. But because people are so repressed and uptight about the attractiveness of a woman, automatically it's got to be banned.
I know, which is a real bummer.
Perhaps like in Europe, if women were less objectified for their sexuality, where there are topless beaches everywhere, and you don't have leering, ogling people all across those European beaches because it's like, hey, it's your breast, big deal.
Yeah, no more than you have at beaches now, right?
Pardon me?
I said no more than you have at beaches now.
Yeah, because
come on.
in Europe, it's just like it's accepted. It's like it's because it's not so connected to sexuality, hubba hubba. It's like people's whatever. It's like if she wants to take her top off, that's fine. If not, no big deal. Over here, it's like you want to take your top off. Why? You want to show off your breast to like what? Lure men? You just to like be an attention whore, whatever. But that is to do with how we are so repressive and just utterly uptight about sexuality in this country. It's like it's 2022, guys. It's the 21st century, and we're still hung up on this shit. Who cares?
I know. So hopefully this will start leading us, I should say, in a direction that is less puritanical, less uptight. Go ahead, Jerry.
I was going to say breader direction, but that's not
right. In a breaster direction.
Breaster direction, yeah.
In a boobier direction. How about that?
Yeah, there you go.
Boobs. Anyway, okay. I love boobs. I think they're great, and I would like to see more of them out and about.
I do too. I'm with you.
Woo. All right. So the next thing I wanted to we show nudity in museums. The next thing I wanted to just really quickly touch on was an update and correction. I don't even think it was a correction. I think it was just an update. But I didn't really feel it was all that profound.
No, I mean they updated some information because I think they were what was it? Something about the data where they were talking about how there was little change in the average speed of the drivers since the cameras went online in 2014. So it didn't, from that perspective, that nothing really has changed their driving behavior. Although they also say that the number of tickets for speeding at that rate of over 11 miles an hour has decreased over time. So I don't know if those are contradicting pieces of data there, or maybe that, these drivers are still driving pretty fast. They're just more cognizant of where the speed
Of where
cameras
the
are now.
cameras, that would be my guess. But then I wonder if this 2022 University of Illinois was that report that I couldn't find last week, where they talked about reducing how cameras actually reduce fatalities and whatnot. Because I could not, for the life of me, find that report after last week. But now they're claiming that this report that is connected, that is linked in this correction, is showing that basically that traffic fatalities and serious injuries, based on this analysis from 2016 to 2019, it is reduced due to cameras. I had the sense too, Jerry, your argument about slamming on brakes. I always had the sense that it created a lot more, like the red light cameras did create a lot more of that sort of like.
Yeah, they do. There
crash.
There was reporting by the Tribune 5 or 6 years ago that leaned on that data, that there were more accidents happening because of people coming to abrupt stops, and it was causing accidents. And this was especially also at these intersections where they had limited the time on yellow lights. When people started realizing they're limiting the time on yellow lights.
That's right.
They're not you're used to, like, you're practically like inherently conditioned when you approach an intersection, when you see the light turning yellow, to kind of have an assumption of how long it's going to last. Right. Once it was revealed by the Tribune that the city was programming the yellow lights to be shorter, literally within like a millisecond, or actually violating the federal mandate for how short the yellow lights could be, then it was like, up for grabs. People didn't want a chance. Oh, is this one of those yellow lights where I really don't have that clearance? They hit the brakes, boom, causing accidents.
Yep.
And that was like, that was so, that the city did that. That was plotted simply to gain more revenue, because they were relying on people who are conditioned towards what the average reaction time is to a yellow, not to realize that they were gaming the system, not for safety, because it actually caused more danger, more money. These fuckers. Yeah.
Oh, I can totally confirm that, Jerry. We have absolutely gotten more revenue from all of these cameras. In fact, it's really, safety's important, but revenue, so important.
I think like 46 million in the first year or something like that. So yeah, for real.
This is all for those camera thresholds to be lowered. The Rona Destroyer.
Which, what do you think the verdict on that's going to be?
It's
probably going to stay, huh? Yeah.
I think she's going to figure out how to. Yeah, I think she's going to figure out how to keep it in place.
Yeah,
well, she can only defer and publish so many times. I think she's actually thrown out her last community chest card from the Monopoly board at this point, with that last little trick that she threw out at the last meeting. So it seems to me that she's not going to be able to avoid getting the city council votes to push that threshold back upward. Although what they really need to be doing is getting rid of the speed cameras altogether.
Lousy, corrupt hag that she is, unfortunately.
Judgment, Jerry. No, I'm kidding. So, Jerry.
That's not a judgment. That's a true observation. Especially when you consider how these cameras are occupying more of our south and western neighborhoods. South and western parts of the city, not as much on the north side.
By design.
They want to take the money from people who can't afford it. for their silly little revenue games.
Well, those people are too busy working like 3 different jobs to complain about it. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah. Finally, I want to make it to our announcements for the evening. I decided to tack on to the end of, and Jerry, of course, if you're welcome to continue it on Fridays, but tack on to the end of the show, events coming up that our audience might be interested in partaking, and any other thing that we might want to make sure to plug before we bid all of you adieu. All right, so.
You have some stuff to share first. I'll wait on
Well,
that.
Jerry, I was going to actually ask you to share about the M4
Okay.
March. Yeah.
Got it. So I was contacted this past Sunday by our friend Elizabeth Meyer, who is working with the March for Medicare for All Day of Action in Washington, D.C. And she called to ask if I could donate some money. Unfortunately, I can't. I'm not in a position to right now, but I wanted to let her know that we would share this news with everybody that might be able to contribute. The March for Medicare for All in Washington will take place July 30th of 2022. And tomorrow night, there is going to be a Wednesday, June 29th, the March for Medicare for All will be holding their first live stream fundraiser hosted by Savage Joy Marie Mann. The live stream begins at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 p.m. Pacific, and has a revolving lineup of special guests and activists to help fundraise for the march and rally. Now, where is this money going to? It's going to be helping cover the platforms. It's going to be helping cover the porta potties. It's going to be covering the transportation. It's going to help cover supplies that are needed for the crowd, from water to feminine hygiene supplies for all the people that are going to converge on Washington to represent our voices in this very, very important action July 30th. So, Ed, thank you for sharing that information. I'm trying to find a link in the email regarding where this is happening online tomorrow night.
Yeah, I think it's going to be simulcast on a couple channels.
Yes.
The Indie Left
Indie
Network,
Left
I
News,
know.
Indie
Left
News Network, Real Progress in Action, I just found it in the email, and Savage Joy Marie Mann, who I think a lot of people know on YouTube. She's got more of a social media presence as a result of helping spearhead the March for Medicare for All last year. She's very visible on YouTube. So if I can copy these links and share them in the chat. These are where you can find this fundraiser tomorrow night, these particular channels.
Yeah, the reason they're doing a fundraiser, it's not cheap to hold these rallies. Not at all. We participated last year when we had it in multiple cities, and each city had to raise money on their own to try and get a rally together. And Chicago did a heck of a job, by the way. I was really
Our
impressed.
team here was incredible. The local action network here in Chicago, Joy Bunton, I don't know if she's tuned in, but she and
Sharif.
Yeah, it was just a phenomenal group of people that put it together and managed to pull it off peacefully, and I thought very professionally.
I thought it was a great rally. I thought it was really, really great. Everybody was great. The march was really fun. The speeches were great. It was very well organized. I was super impressed.
Actually, it was Nimesh. It was Nimesh Patel.
Oh, was it Nimesh? Okay, that's right.
Nimesh Patel, who also serves in the Chicago Police Department. I've had several conversations with him on a lot of the police issues that we talk about. And surprisingly, he's in agreement on a lot of the stuff that we bring up here, in the hopes that more cops would be of Nimesh's mindset in reforming and, doing more to serve as under the understanding it's a privilege, not, a job that you can go abuse because you've got the badge and the gun. So, but yeah, there's thanks for getting that graphic up, Ed. So that's happening tomorrow night. Please tune in to any of those channels, and if you can donate, make a contribution, I know they're going to appreciate it. It's going to help cover those costs for all those that can't afford to go to Washington July 30th and represent our voices in the ongoing struggle for Medicare for All. Secondly, this came up in the Hardlands Media Show tonight, Ed. Roger Meadows, has proposed that we have something to add to the Chicago Corner Manifesto. Speaking
Okay.
of police,
And it wasn't public banking, because Roger Meadows is the one that's always in my ear about public banking.
Well, he talks about that a lot too, but he brought this up on a previous Heartland Media episode when we were talking about the cowards in Uvalde. I was going to use another word, but I censored myself. Body cams, police body cams, directly streamed to public servers. How's that for an idea to keep them honest? And to make sure that we don't have to constantly ask for freedom of information. They are public. Are cops public servants, or are they public workers? However you identify them, they are there to serve the public safety and the public's welfare. Why not ask if body cams can be directly streamed to public servers where the public can access and view them? Wouldn't that keep a lot of these more roguish cops in order? And a little bit more, I don't know, what's the word? I'm always struggling for the word. A little bit more
accountable, incentivized.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, accountable. Yeah, accountable on how they should be doing their jobs, as opposed to what they don't think what they don't think we're going to see and how they're doing their jobs that they're going to get away with. It causes all these lawsuits, millions of dollars in settlements the city has to pay out because cops don't have to cover their own insurance yet. The money's not coming out of their pensions yet, although we would hope to convince some upcoming mayoral candidates. Maybe that's something you got to throw in the face of the fraternal order police. You want this? Okay, your officers and your union have to carry insurance, liability insurance. If you want this, this is what you got to do. If you want this, guess what? It's going to start coming out of your members' pensions, not the taxpayers' pocket.
Right. Exactly.
Body cams directly streamed to public servers would help enforce and make sure that the police would not be acting irresponsibly. And when I say that, it's with all respect to the cops that are acting responsibly. We are not here to bash law enforcement in Chicago. I have a great respect towards what law enforcement ideally should be, protecting citizens, but unfortunately it doesn't seem that law enforcement is as much about protecting citizens anymore. And there's unfortunately a majority of law enforcement professionals that have that mindset.
Yeah.
And I would like to
we're
see
not
doing their jobs right.
We're not getting rid of law enforcement. We're reimagining it. We're rethinking how
reforming
it should be working.
Rethinking and reforming it.
We're making it work properly.
Yes.
So if you want to protect and serve the public truly, then you should have no problem with these reforms.
Absolutely. Why would you? Why would you have a problem with this? If you want to serve the public and recognize it's a privilege to protect life, to protect the lives of citizens, not just the property of the rich people. Ultimately, it's about protecting citizens, making sure they're safe. And again, a lot of cops are tuned into that.
So but if you're just joining us here at Chicago Corner, welcome and thanks for watching. Please subscribe, like, and share the stream. This thing we have up on the screen here is a work in progress called the Chicago Corner Manifesto, also known as the 2023 Chicago Mayoral Pledge to the City, also known as the North to South and East to West Pledge. It contains
it's our public action.
Yeah, this is
our
list. This is our list of demands for the candidates who want to be mayor of Chicago. It's our quote unquote Christmas list of the things that we want to do to make changes in the city. Am I expecting everything to happen overnight if one of them gets elected? No, but we got to start somewhere with a list of demands. So this is where we're starting to build that list, and we're not doing this alone. We need your help. So if you're watching the live stream and have an idea, post it in the live stream chat. If you're watching this after the live stream, post a comment. Or send a note to Jerry at chicagocorner.tv with your suggestion with the subject line Chicago Corner Manifesto or Mayoral Pledge or one of those things. And then we'll consider adding it to the list. Maybe you'll see us talk about it on a future episode of Chicago Corner.
And
so what
let me also interject really quickly, Ed. Our goal, our plan, our direct action is going to be at a certain point when we've fine-tuned and polished this document. We are going to plan to go to City Council on the days that they have they allow time for citizens to speak. Should I let this out of the bag? Maybe no, they don't watch the show. They're not gonna have any warning.
Yeah, they're not gonna know.
We're gonna go, and Kira, me, Ed, Kit, whoever else at Hardlands Media wants to join us, we're going to book our time to publicly speak. What is it? 3 minutes, Ed?
3 minutes, I think that we said, yeah.
Yeah, public comments are usually 3 minutes.
3 minutes. We're each going to basically time ourselves to how much we can say in 3 minutes from the manifesto. We're going to go up. We're going to read our piece. We're going to get cut off. They're going to think, oh, fuck them. They're gone. And then the next Chicago Corner colleague is going to come up and continue the manifesto. And with any luck, maybe we can book all the time for citizens to be able to go in there and state their minds and not shut down what we want the existing mayor to acknowledge she's not doing, and what we hope to get out the word to all the mayoral candidates. This is what citizens of Chicago want to see if they're going to run and claim that they want to represent the interests of citizens across the city.
Yeah. It is a really robust list. Definitely take a look. Definitely contribute to us and this list. Whatever you come up with, we'll take strongly into consideration.
I posted a link to the document that's currently in progress. As I said, it's in progress. Some of these only have titles, like public housing support. I haven't fleshed that one out yet. If you are familiar with the types of public housing support and other things related to that we need, and you can put that into words, by all means, drop us a line and give us some more details, because we're just doing this by the skin of our teeth here. We're trying to do something good, but we don't know everything. That's why we need you.
We're going to have to revise this for time. A lot of good
certainly
points on this, but basically it's our working draft that we will then revise and fine tune into the correctly timed sound bites that we know we can each get up there and say everything we want to say in 3 minutes, and then the next person comes up and continues it.
Yeah. And as you can see, we already had a section for public security here. We provide properly trained public security, and there's a whole bunch of stuff to read here. But just a few minutes ago, we added the part where security officer body cam footage should be directly streamed to public servers and readily accessible to the public. That happened just now. This is the kind of thing we want. We want an evolving document that we can work on, that we can all go over and say, look, we like this idea. Maybe we'll change this. Maybe we'll tweak that. But eventually we'll get to something that we can really hit home and refine and deliver to the people.
And that's with the direct feedback and input from Roger Meadows, who's a frequent contributor to the Hardlands Media Show. I don't know if he's tuned in tonight. I know he watches Chicago Corner when he can, but just an example. We want to take your feedback. This is about all of us coming together and figuring out how we can all watch out and be vigilant for each other.
True.
That's right.
All right. So
and just one more thing before I take this off the screen, we got Ilhanar saying, don't forget internet municipalities. And we didn't. Near the bottom, you'll see that we have a timely upgrade and transition to municipal utilities and services. So we got that municipal internet and all that other stuff that we want to transition to. We're replacing the lead water pipes and all that other stuff. So it's on the list. It's just we have to get. If we have more details, we can flesh that out. But yeah, we got that in mind as well. So thanks for your support, everyone who's watching. Come help us out with the Chicago Corner Manifesto.
Yep. And feel free to send us a super chat. Feel free to buy a Chicago Corner mug that actually makes the taste of your beverage 10% better. So, I mean...
Oh,
You
actually,
definitely
you know,
want that.
Kira, I think Hard Lens was the 10%. Chicago Corner flavor improving mugs are 25%
What?
flavor improvement.
I was
Yes,
wrong.
25%.
Wow. No
You
wonder my coffee tastes so good in my Chicago Corner
Yes,
cup
and
every morning.
basically any beverage that you pour into Chicago Corner mug will give you 25% flavor improvement. So you should head to the merch store now.
Definitely. I love my Chicago Corner mug. I use it almost every morning. And my coffee is delicious.
I left mine at the studio. I want to go back to a comment really quickly that's kind of relates to the idea of this manifesto we're putting together to basically watch out for each other. Hop to Copper said earlier in the show, as long as they can cause division and strife among the citizens, these direct actions can't happen. And Hop to Copper makes a very good point. We've got to get past the way, whether it's pitting us against each other through class, race, liberal, conservative, Republican, Democrat, blah, 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 blah. I'm really wondering if it's going to take like an alien invasion to get us past all the division between us, where we finally all have to come together and realize, we have to unite under something.
Hold no cars. Hold no cars. UFO landed on Michigan Avenue.
I mean, is that what it's going to take? An alien invasion? We all got to get together here and figure it out and realize everywhere we look, the enemy is not next to us. The enemy is like above us. Well, I mean that as far as like our representation, that's not properly representing us. So, with that said,
I don't know about you, Jerry, but I kind of think the extraterrestrials are already here.
The lizard people, yeah. I think you're onto something, Ed.
Yeah.
I do believe you're onto something.
Okay. I'm going to bring the show to a close, but before we do we want to take a glance at the election?
Sure. I think that.
Sure, I guess we could do that.
It'll be quick because I want to. I usually am in bed by now, you guys, for serious. So coming down.
All right,
Breaking news here
Breaking
on
news.
Chicago Corner. Tammy Duckworth still beat nobody. J.B. Pritzker, an overwhelming margin with 91% of the precincts reporting. By the way, I think where it says cards cast, I think that's the number of ballots cast in Chicago. 273,000. But I don't know how many registered voters are in Chicago. Do you know? It's got to be over 1 million.
Hell if I know. I have no idea.
But in Cook County, because Cook County say they have a 18.16% voter turnout, and they had 1.63 million registered voters. They had 296,000 ballots cast in Cook County, suburban Cook County. So yeah, that's maybe not such a great turnout in the city here.
No.
But it is a primary, and there were no ballot initiatives. So, what are you gonna do? Okay, so we had Kwame Rule. Okay, looks like Alexi Janulius got his Secretary of State nomination there.
I got a bad feeling about that.
So he's going up against I don't know who he's going up against. Hold on a second. How do we do this? How do we find it? I got to use the search function here. Let me try Secretary of State. Okay. Aha! Dan Brady is going to be running up against Alexi Janulius, Republican versus Democrat there. I imagine that since we're not able to locate primaries for the other third parties, that they either held their primaries at another time or only had like single candidates So we'll see them in the general election ballots, and we'll know who's running for those. So so we have, and while we're down here, let's look at the while we're down here, let's look at the governor Republican. He looks like Darren Bailey is getting the nomination there for Republican.
Pritzker better beat him.
So it
That's
will
all I
suck.
gotta say.
Yeah, it'll suck for Pritzker if he loses to the guy who he gave money to.
Yeah.
To run against him. So
here comes Bailey.
Oh boy, I'm so glad that Pritzker gave me this car.
Right. I'm glad that they pipered me in.
Yep. All right.
Were there any other races we want to look at here?
I kind of don't want to see, but let's look at the 7th.
She's had enough.
The 7th. I have had enough already.
7th?
Yeah, let's look at Danny Davis's race.
Okay, 7th. 7th district. Oh wait, no, that ain't right.
That's a Republican.
Can I make a comment here real quickly? Sakamura shares, imagine spending $45 million on a nominee that got 3rd place and then announcing you are leaving the state. They're referring to Ken Griffin.
I would feel like,
Yes!
I mean, he's the 25 billionaire, so.
All right. Well, while we were looking for the 7th district, we also have the 6th district popping up here. You see that Sean Caston beat Marie Newman, so he's got the nomination for the 6th. And then we've got Danny K. Davis with 56% in the 7th district.
Okay.
Anybody in the live chat want us to look at a specific district? Now's the time to speak up so we can scroll over there. Let's see who got the 3rd district here. Delia Ramirez with 66%.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. Sorry, Gil. I guess you just sent us too many flyers. Man, did that guy waste a lot of trees.
I mean, the whole election does. It's wild. It's wild how much money gets spent on this shit.
I have a feeling I'm going to get more mailers like Beyond Today throughout the week.
Yeah.
Even if it's all over.
Absolutely. All right.
Kira, let me know when you want me to take us out.
Let's go ahead and wrap this up because Mama's got to get going. Long day. I've been going for like 15 hours, so it's time to go. Cool. Well, thank you guys for joining. It was a bust show as always. I think we had some really good stuff, so thank you guys for contributing to the show throughout the week as well. You know, it's not just you guys come on and chat. We're in communication literally all week with each other, so I appreciate you guys for doing that and being with me here and being awesome generally. So anything you want to plug before we head out?
I got nothing. Just remember, if it's happening on the streets, you'll hear about it here on Chicago Corner.
The truth. Absolutely. How about for you, Ed?
If you want to learn about Chicago-style pizza and how to make it at home, go to realdeepdish.com. That's RealDeepDish.com.
I forgot. I'm going to be doing a radio episode tomorrow with Lainey. I don't know if it's live or if it's pre-recorded, but I'll share a link on our Chicago Corner page. It's a regular talk show. We'll be talking about politics and stuff. So, yeah, that'd be kind of cool to tune into if it's live, and I'll post a link if it is live. Otherwise, I will share when it goes on World Perspectives Radio's website. With all the other
and as always, you can always find me at comfyfitness.com, where you can get all of your movement needs met, particularly if you are having any discomfort with your movement. I'm your gal. And I hope you guys have an incredible rest of your week. Join Jerry and Ed and Kit, I believe, at 7:30 on Friday night here at Chicago Corner. We'll see you later.